What's up, guys? I hope you're well. Chadio here. Today we're checking out History Summarized Scotland. Excuse me. Some of you may know I have pretty deep Scottish ancestry on my mom's side, so be really intriguing to me to learn some of the some of the history of Scotland. I don't know a whole lot about Scotland, so yeah. So this will hopefully help me learn something about Scotland. If you're new here, hit the subscription button, ring the bell, also leave a comment down below and give a thumbs up. Let's check out the History Summarized Scotland. Wow, my tongue is tied. Let's go.
In researching this video, I very quickly learned a valuable lesson about how little the Scots mess around. Okay, I thought, the Scots and the English hate each other, sure, but it can't be that bad, honestly. So I took a little peruse to see how many times the two actually fought each other, and sweet Mother Mary, that is a lot of stabbing!
Holy
Scotland,
crap.
who hurt you? Trick question, England. So be warned, the Scots throughout history are every bit as bonkers as they come across on Twitter. To find out why, let's do some history. This video is brought to you by Audible, which is a wee bit ironic, seeing as the Scottish language is damn near inaudible. Around 2,000 years ago, Scotland was inhabited.
Wow. Well, that's offensive. I got some Scottish friends. That's not cool. That's not cool at all. It is pretty thick. I'm not gonna lie. It is a thick dialect, but hey, whatever. I understand it perfectly fine.
Inhabited by various tribes of Pictish Celts, living up north, herding, and minding their own business. So
we're hearing about the Celts again. Man, just can't get around them, can we?
when the Roman Empire swaggered up to try and conquer them, they gave those Romans a walloping so bad that Emperor Hadrian built a wall just to make sure that nobody ever tried to conquer them again. Essentially,
I just don't think you can do this one. I've been an assassin for a while now. What makes you think, oh, get that shit out of here, you're right.
so even though these original Celts weren't anything like modern Scots, it is refreshing to see the national character demonstrated so well at such an early stage. Rome eventually collapsed, but Europe reintroduced itself to Scotland via Christianity and Anglo-Saxon migrations, which coalesced through the 7th century into a few main groups. For our purposes, the most relevant two are the Picts and the Scoti, where we get the name Scotia, aka Scotland. In 843, Kenneth MacAlpin united the Scots and Picts in order to create the Kingdom of Elba. The early kingdom had to deal with the Vikings and the English in the 8 and 900s as land from every corner was getting yoinked. But beyond outside threats, there were also constant internal fisticuffs over the crown. The quintessential example of the early Scottish king is Macbeth, whom hereafter shall be referred to exclusively as McBoy because that play is haunted and I'm not looking for trouble. Trouble is, nearly everything you might know about him from Shakespeare is wrong. Here's why. See, the Scottish crown didn't follow a strict succession, but claimants came to debate who was best fit to rule, and this caused constant disputes that
So what Shakespeare wrote was propaganda against the Scots. Oh, Shakespeare wrote propaganda against people? No, never. That's not something Shakespeare would do.
escalated into wars. So MacBoy actually killed King Duncan in a battle in the year 1040 and ruled for the next 17 years peacefully, generously, and successfully. In 1057, he died in another battle against Duncan's son Malcolm Canmore, who then assumed the throne. All that stuff about murder conspiracies got added by Scottish historians centuries later, but civil wars over the throne were already a matter of protocol since the kingdom had gotten started. MacBoy's real-life path was actually quite standard. But speaking of wonky royal succession crises, the next decade brought the Norman conquest of England, and William the Conqueror's second son Henry married King Malcolm's daughter. The family relations are confusing now, and they stay that way for the next 1,000 years, so I'm gonna try to avoid specifics where I can for the sake of my sanity, but the bottom line is that the King of Scotland exchanged notes with his sister, the Queen of England, about culture and statecraft. So in the following 2 centuries, Scotland picked up some Norman tricks, like a central bureaucracy, a church hierarchy, and a curious new language derived from the Norman French, called Scots. The native Gaelic was still the dominant language in the Highlands especially, but the lowlands trended slowly towards the customs of their anglicized southern neighbors. The 11 and 1200s saw a steady back and forth between Scotland and England along the borders in Northumbria, but not a whole lot of drama. Until, however, the King of Scotland died in 1286 without a clear heir, and rather than have all 13 possible cousins duke it out the old-fashioned way, they called in the English king to mediate the dispute, which, I don't know, seems like kind of a short-sighted and terrible idea. Unsurprisingly, King Edward installed the weakest, most pliable puppet who would let him treat Scotland like a vassal state. And when even that pushover got fed up with forfeiting Scottish land, paying tribute, and kneeling to English superiority, King Edward invaded Scotland, dethroned the king, and yoinked the Scottish coronation stone back to Westminster, dragging Scotland firmly under the English heel. This was, frankly, terrible, so the Scots duly rebelled against England under the command of the famous William Wallace, who won a victory at the Battle of Stirling Bridge in 1297, but lost horrendously at Falkirk the next year, and was later executed by England and paraded around Scotland in pieces. Quick fun fact, of the many reasons that the movie Braveheart sucks, the blue war paint that everybody's wearing is about 1,000 years out of style for the Scots. I mean, come on, that kind of anachronism is like dressing the cast of The Godfather in togas. It was after Wallace died that Robert the Bruce took up the mantle of Guardian of Scotland. He had to kill a rival claimant to earn his title, but he also earned an excommunication from the Pope because apparently murdering somebody in a church is impolite and a mortal sin. Whatever. He was defeated early by Edward in 1306 and went into hiding for a year before returning to win the Battle of Loudon Hill. From there, he stomped out local rivalries and united Scotland fully against the English at the decisive Battle of Bannockburn in 1314. Though the treaties weren't signed for another 15 years, Robert the Bruce won Scotland 3 centuries of independence in that battle. Quick OS pro tip, skip Braveheart, but watch The Outlaw King. It's better and way more accurate. So having fulfilled his dreams for his kingdom, Robert died the next year, but this was exceptionally poor timing and really unfortunate in the long run because the throne passed to a series of useless kings from the House of Stuart for the next several decades. Through the 13 and 1400s, Scotland had no real leadership, so the local lords started throwing hands, or more accurately, claymores. In this case, the warring states were actually the dozens of clans scattered across the lowlands and highlands. Mercifully, England had just gotten sucked into the 100 Years' War with France, so Scotland was free to be its own antagonist the way God intended. And although the Stuart clan still held the crown, other families like the Douglas clan were regularly challenging them for land and power. Some progress came with King James I in 1406, who sent 12,000 Scotsmen to fight with France against England in the 100 Years' War, winning big and returning home in a strong position to consolidate many of the clans under his crown and reform the kingdom. Unfortunately, he got assassinated and it was right back to the seesawing balance of power between kings, regents, lords, and clans. Even after James, the Highlanders still largely spoke Gaelic and paid little heed to the culture or politics of the anglicized royal court in the lowlands. The king could say whatever he wants down in Edinburgh, but unless he personally marches up to Inverness to tell Clan Fraser in person to pay their taxes, it's not gonna happen. And one king even tried that, but still nothing happened. It's just all very Game of Thronesy for a couple centuries. And I mean, heck, it's at this time that the War of the Roses is raging on just down the street. And you know what? Since it's just a big mess anyway, I'm gonna speed round through the next 300 years, so bear with me and let's get ready for a game of Monarchy is Volatile! Let's meet our players! One king was really cool and helped reform the government to work for more of Scotland while making Edinburgh into a Renaissance capital of learning and culture. One queen got the short end of the stick when Scotland's parliament voted to convert to Protestantism while she was on vacation in France, and then she got the shorter end of the stick when England imprisoned her for 2 decades and then executed her. Her son played his cards just right and inherited the throne of England from his cousin, the childless Elizabeth, and then became King of England and Scotland. His son was so inconceivably bad at being king that his abuses of power brought England and Scotland into open rebellion for entirely separate reasons, and his reign ended with the British Isles locked in 12 years of civil war before everybody called a do-over and gave the crown back to his son. One king became king because Parliament literally invited him from the Netherlands to replace their current monarch, and then he proceeded to strangle Scottish trading rights. And the last queen on our list tried to be a pal by offering Scotland a national union with England to open up trade avenues in exchange for the bargain price of nearly all of their sovereignty. I'd originally gone way in depth about how all of this stuff went down in my first draft, but then I realized, you know what? Royal politics is dumb and confusing, and I kind of hate it more than anything else in history. So I'm gonna skip through it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yay!
So I did. One standout event from the mid-1500s is when the King of England tried to drive a wedge between a long-standing alliance between Scotland and France in the hopes to endear Scotland to their southern English neighbors. They did this by pillaging the lowlands and burning Edinburgh to the ground. You may find that this is a bad way to make new friends. The Scots came to call the 7-year campaign the Rough Wooing, as they did not appreciate being bullied into love. And this sentiment persisted for centuries, way up until the Act of Union in 1707. Scotland was suspicious of the Queen's offer of partnership, and while they'd get one metric British Empire out of the deal in the long run, the immediate result was England deciding they now had a constitutional right to treat Scotland like a colony. As you can see, this is kind of a recurring problem, and it led to two revolts for Scottish independence in 1715 and in 1745. Both failed, but the second one spooked England into being slightly less despicable about everything. In the next century and a half following the rebellions, things turned remarkably for the better as the Enlightenment came north. Writers like Walter Scott and Robert Burns helped rekindle the Scottish identity, and thinkers like Adam Smith and David Hume radically changed European perspectives on rational thought and economics. Hume claimed that reason was the core of human thought, and Smith described the benefits of letting people act in their own self-interest. This all sounds very profound, but don't be fooled. The clear Scottish subtext to these ideas are, the English don't make a damn lick of sense, and we'd be better off making our own decisions.
Right.
And you can't expect a Scottish Enlightenment thinker to not bury snide comments at England under 2 tons of hard academic theory. Though Scotland had long been an educational powerhouse, in the following 2 centuries they also became the industrial heart of the British Empire, producing such famous doodads as the steam engine, the telephone, radar, a mechanical television, and also most of the ships in the Imperial Royal Navy. Nice. Other happy beneficiaries of the 18th and 19th centuries were the cities of Glasgow and Edinburgh, which built up substantially in the Georgian neoclassical style, and they just look really damn pretty. Funny thing about the Edinburgh Castle is instead of firing off 12 cannon shots to mark the passing of noon like the English do, they just wait 1 hour and save 11 rounds. That is so Scottish. Quickly approaching the modern day now,
smart.
Scottish attitudes towards the Union grew more suspicious as England seemed to care less and less by the decade about what happened up north, and the hard-forged British identity faded with time and the decline of the British Empire. After years of campaigning, Scotland gained greater autonomy and the right to hold their own parliament in 1999. And the first words spoken there were, quote, "The Scottish Parliament, adjourned on the 25th of March, 1707, is hereby reconvened." And if that is not some big Scotland energy right there, then wrap me in a tartan plaid
some
and
BSE
throw me
right
in Loch
there, I
Ness,
love
because
it.
I know what is. Now, if you want to jump into the tumultuous world of medieval Scottish murder kings, then you've got to go.
All right. No, I enjoyed that a lot. That was very interesting. I was quiet throughout most of that because I was taking it all in and I was learning quite a bit from my ancestry. And yeah, damn, I didn't realize there was that much war in between the Scotland and England, but I guess it does make sense, doesn't it? Not sure what I'm gonna check out next week. Maybe Ireland, maybe just England. You know, let's watch this guy kind of just talk about England and have fun with it. But I'm enjoying this. It's a fun little series. I thought it'd be kind of cool to do in September. I'm enjoying it very much. I hope you guys are too. With that being said, I want to thank you all for watching. Stay safe and don't forget to wash your hands. Bye.